What's going on, Noichurn? How you doing? How you doing? Been a hot minute since I have seen you around. Obviously been a hot minute since I have streamed at all. Hopefully I'm coming through loud and clear with no lag, no issues, no freeze framing. OBS says 0 dropped frames. I didn't change any settings at all before going live. So I could have lowered the bitrate. I could have done things to make it theoretically not hard for my phone to do, but no. Nah. We just going live. What's up, Biddy B? What's up, Biddy B? I see Restream chat is now showing people's ats instead of their display names. That is not a sensible change in my opinion. Yes, a hotspot minute. Indeed. But I will maybe still recognize everybody. We'll see. So, today we are going to be testing the limits of my mobile hotspot data. I was supposed to get internet on Thursday. I'll just talk about this a little bit while we wait for some more people to come through. Also, I know that the green screen isn't great, particularly with motion. It's also taken the top of my headset off. I guess we'll just figure it out. Sorry, my microphone volume was way loud. Sorry about that, guys. We're working out the case. I just moved here Sunday. I was supposed to get internet set up on the day that we moved. It was supposed to be self-setup. And then they were like, actually, you need a tech. Well, first they were like, actually, it'll be fine. I just got to add this device to your account. And then they added the device completely wrong. And then the next person I talked to, because these are the Indian tech support people overseas, actual Indian, not generalization. But the Indian tech support guys, first guy was like, I can do it, it's fine. And then the second guy was like, you need a tech, and scheduled me for a tech. So then the tech comes over on Thursday. So already out of internet for almost a week by then. But you know what? I'm still doing work. I'm using the free Wi-Fi hotspot from the corner store next to my house. Just super, humdrum stuff, right? Just trying our best to get things going. And so the end result is tech comes up. He's like, yeah, this place used to be wired for us a long time ago, but it's not now, so I'm going to have to do it. I was like, all right, that's fine, And he's like, yeah, you probably don't even get charged for this installation because you were told that you would be fine. That was the customer service mistake for whoever set up your account. I was like, yep, true. Okay, good. Everything's feeling good. Got my dog in my room so he doesn't eat the tech, because then I would have no internet and a body to bury. But, well, I guess my dog would eat it, so it's fine. But the end result is then I'm greeted by the actual landlady who I've been having a go-between with property managers instead of talking to her directly. It's my first time meeting her. And she's like, this building is only wired for a different service provider. You can't have that service provider installed here. That's not allowed. And in the moment, I don't have a comeback to that besides the fact that I work from home predominantly. Most of my worldly income is sourced from casting Counter-Strike and getting donations for working on Cosmonarchy and D&D and stuff, and making sales and a couple of other things. And so as a result, I'm like, okay, well, I need to pay you rent. You need to collect the rent. So we got to come into some agreement. We got to figure something out. And then before giving me contact info or saying goodbye or finishing the conversation, she just walks off. I'm like, okay, I guess we won't be resolving this dispute then. And so what ends up happening from there is I get into touch with the property managers. They're very bemused by the situation. I guess they've never done property management for this particular client before. So they're also learning, sort of as I am learning, how to navigate this person's personality. The ultimate slap in the face came not from her sending my tech home, but from her saying, it's okay if you use Xfinity, which is the service provider I'm trying to get. Just see if they can use the other service provider's wire first. And if they can't, and they have to do something on the roof, just coordinate it so that we know what's going on. By the way, there was no work being done that day on Thursday. Nobody else was trying to use the roof. No, there was no blocking of access by our tech doing anything. It was nothing. No problem. So the slap in the face comes of, no, you can't have your internet right now. Also, go ahead and reschedule it. It's fine. It's like, what? Why? Why'd you do this? Now I'm delayed massively, and I got weekend wage to do, and I got to stream D&D and stuff if I can possibly do that. And so anyway, long story short, all of that stuff was going on, and I'm not impressed, but I'm not oppressed. Do you guys know what I mean? I'm doing all right. I'm feeling pretty fly. That being the growing pain among the growing pains of, getting into a new spot is kind of, it's within the realm of expectation, even though I'm not impressed. I'm all right. I'm doing all right. So, I am complaining. I am explaining the situation while also a little bit putting a little mustard on the hot dog, as the saying goes, even though I don't usually put mustard on my hot dogs. I haven't eaten a hot dog in years, but yeah, I'm doing a little something here. We're getting something going. We're trying the test stream. We're seeing how it goes. Any feedback on the stream, any lag, any audio issues, any video issues, besides the fact that my green screen is a little jank right now, you guys let me know in the chat. I see we have Lucy and Solstice popped in earlier, and Green Eggs as well. So, yeah. Looks a little blurry. Yeah, that's probably the camera, if I had to guess. That's less so the stream issue. Unless the stream is not sharing in 1080p, which is a possibility. I didn't change any settings, though, so I don't think OBS has an automatic thing. We'll take a look. Oh, what's up, Drawn? How you doing?
I am a hero!
Hell yeah, brother. You're a hero on my forehead. Yeah, I think what we'll probably pop in here is... we're going to actually load up the game and do some casting just to pass some time, just to put the mobile hotspot through its paces. What's so weird is there's an added layer of weird to the mobile hotspot stuff that I can also talk a little bit about while we're waiting to pop in here, waiting for people to pop in. Also, Solstice, I have no idea what a sodium vapor green screen or key background is. If it's anything to do with like NVIDIA stuff, I have an AMD graphics card. And it's not from the era when AI was taking off. It's from like COVID days. So a little bit before that. So I have no clue if I can run anything. There was this guy who was trying to hook me up with like the NVIDIA control panel shit for setting up my green screen. And I was like, I have an AMD graphics card. And he was like, what? Those exist? I was like, dude, come on, brother. Don't be so you. Switching to Twitch because everyone's here. Hey, Biddy B was on YouTube. You can't just say that about Biddy B. He's someone. It's a super rare filming technique. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Now I know. It's the yellow screen, right? Or whatever. It was a different color, and so they could actually have like white lace and stuff be keyed out. That was... I think they covered that on a Red Letter Media episode like a year ago or something like that. Yeah. Handful of units. See, Solstice is thinking about modeling a handful of units, guys. That's what he just said. He just leaked it. Solstice has been a big help lately. He's been doing some improvements and merge requests and all that to the Python suite so that we can get some automated programs. Guys, I have shared with you, if you guys have been around for the dev streams, you know that one of the things that I've been talking about somewhat recently is every time I add a new unit graphic to the game, well, there comes an icon, eventually comes a wireframe, historically from June 3 Hong. Maybe Solstice will be able to automate most of that with Blender or something. The result of me complaining about this has finally borne some fruit. The squeaky wheel gets the oil, guys. I have to manually set up this program to go through every step to compile every single one of these graphic files that has the UI icons in them, from the yellow icons on your command card when you click on a structure and you see like move, and well, I guess you wouldn't see that on a structure unless it was a mobile one, but you train Maverick, whatever, and then obviously the wireframes themselves also have to be compiled. And so I've been doing that manually, and it's like, it takes like a whole minute for every time I'm going to update all of those graphics. And now we have a thing that does it in 3 seconds. Hell yeah, batch script power. Shout out Solstice for, once again, flashing us forward a little bit in terms of the information age. We appreciate that. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it really is going to be a big help. It's just going to cut down a little bit on dev time over time. You know, if I add 1,000 more units, that's 1,000 more minutes I will get in my life. You know what I'm saying? So, just an example. Just an example. I need those 1,000 minutes. I'll take them. It only takes 60 units for that to pay off as 1 free hour of time. It makes sense. Yeah, the epigraph herald icon thing was a mismatch on my end. That's another thing, is that it's error prone to do it manually, whereas I just stuff it in there and then push the button, and so a little bit less error prone. Less steps equals less opportunity for failure. So very good. Very good. Yeah, I know. There's like 3 different reports of it, and they're in different channels and shit. Excellent. All right, so we're going to test how good the game is looking on the stream. I did want to cast a few games here. No idea if these games will end up on YouTube, so fair dues there. I am not making promises about, you know... that was weird. I could not open up... command prompts for a second there. I'm not making any promises about doing one thing or another when it comes to, you know, the casting that I am doing going onto YouTube. We have YouTube videos planned out until the 30th of November already scheduled, so it would be a while before you see it anyway. By that point, it would have been ventilated from your brain and you could watch it again and be like, wow, I like this. This is a good game. I never saw this game before. I love this. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. What's up, Sausage? Not sure if it's just you, but the stream was buffering there for a bit. Oh, it might have been when I was changing versions, because I was like downloading a different version of the game or whatever. Never seen these games in my life. Yeah, and to answer Green Eggs' question from earlier, I am just going to be doing a regular stream, or trying to. We are going to try together, ladies and gentlemen. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the wrong overlay, but just tell me, what do you see? Because I saw Jimmy who was AFK for a moment. That's what I saw. Yeah, they were playing on a different map from Neo Sepulchre from Shambler, and it was not correct. It did not show the right thing. Who made that map? You don't even need to ask. He'll tell you. All right, lads, we're going to be taking a look at Sausage versus This Is Jimmy on a map called Parabellum, which is a dog-lived map, as Jimmy has so kindly mentioned. We have a gateway antecedent. Well, Sausage is already playing a little bit on the cheesier side. Let's be real. What's going on, Godwe? I see you in the chat. And obviously Jimmy down here in the bottom left, he is our orange Terran. This is a 2-spawn mapper. So, at least as far as I'm aware, yeah, that does not look like a main base. This does not look like a main base. I think we're good. Biddy be assisted. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Gateway Rogue Gallery opener here for Sausage as he opens with a Legionnaire. He is our black, jet black, in fact, Protoss player in the top right. The ramps are a little close to the border of the map, don't you guys think? I feel like that's a little awkward. Yeah, Jimmy's notorious for just like not kind of not playing sometimes when he's in the game. He didn't start making Masons for like the first 5 seconds of the game. Didn't do anything. He was AFK. Yeah, I don't know. The ramp being right here, I mean, it does a different thing, right? Oh, we have the vulture seeing the Legionnaire in the middle. Oh, Jimmy, no, you weren't supposed to let it tickle you. Oh, you did it twice. No. For a second, I thought it would just be dead, but he actually does manage to pull away. No, don't let it take your mind. I don't want to... Aw, Jim. Okay, he's got 2 vultures heading over there. There's actually not that much over here. A Warden, Hierophant, Kabbalist. I mean, a couple of scribes could end up going down here. I guess the map distance, the distance there is pretty high. What this ramp being here does is it does make it so that when you come up it, you really don't have that much room to worry about as the defender. So you could probably wall this pretty easily, thinking about it. I don't know if you would want to, but you could. It is a possibility. The Hierophant plus Kabbalist Legionnaire combo is a real deadly one. Good luck. I can already tell you that Shopkeeper Dog will look at this and be like, where's the ramp? Which, you know, I could kind of see where it is, but, you know, it's not a typical one. Oh, and there's this little side passage. You know, Arctic Ablution kind of had this same sort of vibe to it, where I think it was... The natural had 2 different pathways into it, so it's definitely something that's been experimented with lately. I know that some Shambler maps had the same thing, but I think more towards the main. Anyway, Jimmy's going to be idling on a military production despite making a 3rd fulcrum here. Enough money to go ahead and drop a ministry behind a workers, which is what we would expect with a slow start that he had. But you know, he put up a little bit of pressure, and he scouted the very non-standard build order from Sausage, who I would not blame if he was just kind of memeing a little bit, you know? He does bully Jimmy sometimes, doesn't he? He was taking a sip from his juice box. I don't know why that was so funny to me. Calling him 16 in real life. All right, well, the Legionnaire is nice and easy, Dot. See you later, dude. But... I don't know. I think Sausage is just fine. Why is he making an engram in his main base? What is he doing? I think he's taking a sip from his juice box, but you know, somebody swapped it out with some alcohol, if you know what I'm saying. Kabbalist will be first up. Oh no! It's the Hierophant Kabbalist comp. Beware, dude. Well, this is a new map, Neutron, so that would be why you don't recognize it. It did come out like a week or so ago, if I remember correctly. I think we'll mostly be looking at new maps today. Now, the Hierophants will stun, right? They'll proc the mine, and then that'll stun the Kabbalists, even though typically you need detection to see them. The mines don't trip on invisible units like they do in Starcraft 1. They need detection just like anybody else. I could make them detectors. That is a consideration. Maybe we'll do that for, like, one of the factional mines. Oh. Poor Jimmy. No, Jimmy. You could have come in here and killed workers or something. He's actually doing okay on the worker catch-up, except for the fact that he's not making any right now. But, you know, that's all right. It's pure Vulture from him with a Vestry hat on. Well, this is going to be interesting. He's got a lot of Vultures on location. He's going after the Hierophants, which actually, I mean, it's because the units automatically targeted them. I think there's some wisdom in that, because then they don't get the attack speed. Okay. Well, I think this game's about to be over very quickly. The Kabbalists are roving around looking for victims, and they're just going to go after the Ministry, forcing it to lift off to avoid being sideswiped. And at least right now, Sausage doesn't want to... Oh, he actually almost lost his Hierophant. He doesn't want to walk through the mines, but... I don't know. I feel like he definitely could. Goliath and Starpad on the way. Jimmy not mining from his second base. And quickly, we have seen him go from being within like 4 workers of Sausage to being away less than 10. Or more than 10, actually, is what I meant to say. He has he's down quite a few. Clearly needs that detection. One Kabbalist will be aggroed forward and not salvaged there. Sausage is just playing a little bit sloppy. I mean, he's got nothing in the production tab. He's got 1,000 minerals, so he's just going to go ahead and Crucible. I want to see 6 more rogue galleries around that Crucible, please, and just mass Kabbalists. That's what I'm requesting. If he's taking requests. Oh, it looks like there might be a height issue there, or maybe that's intentional. Oh, this is high ground. Yeah, one thing that you're probably going to get a lot on this map as far as complaints go is, like, where are the ramps? Like, this is obviously a very clear one. But there's a reason why we have those, right? Those height transitions kind of have to be very obvious. Okay, well, within touching distance of the future Masons in that location are those Kabbalists waiting with bated breath to strike. Plenty of vultures where that came from, though. It's actually kind of a monocomp at this point, and if that Hierophant takes one step forward... Jimmy, what are you doing? It's one Hierophant. Is this replay broken? What's going on here? Why is Jimmy fleeing from a single Hyro? Looks like he'll rectify that now. He's got... Is he hunting? Is he looking for Kabbalists? Is that what's happening right now? I think maybe we might have the wrong replay here. Or the wrong version of the game for this point. What's up, Jackulansky? It says you are not red, but I made you red in one of the 2v2s that I was attempting to cast a while ago. Oh, you got some bar guests out here. I'm assuming that's what that move from Jimmy was, that he was trying to chase one down, but I don't know. I don't see a boatload of idle scribes anywhere. I guess I'm starting to see them collect over here, so that's kind of a sign of a replay break. Just that one needs to mine, no other one. Wait, he's thinking about it? Yeah, okay, we busted, boys. Hold on one moment here. Let me just quickly see. I'm pretty sure I got that the name of that game right. This is Jimmy Sausage Parabellum. Yeah, the version is 9147DDA, which is where I was at on pre-release. The bar guests were trying to harvest resources. They wanted to be the artisan. That'll be like the Starbound Artisan replacement as a bar guest. While it's carrying resources, it's cloaked, and then when you decloak it, like, consumes it. Well, no, I mean, your replay was already uploaded by virtue of it being on Replay Kraken, so I have it already. That looks like it's that's the Busto. That's all right. There's a few other Jimmy games, aren't there? Didn't he play a few? Oh, they played one with Neo Sepulcher. Yeah, with or Sepulcher, I think is how you say that, right? I'm using the internet. I'm browsing a web page. Oh, it is Sepulcher. Okay. And if you guys saw any stream buffering there, it's because I was running a quick DuckDuckGo search. I'm not sure right now. Let's see. What other games did I have selected? I think that was the only Parabellum game I had queued up. There's a really long TVT on Oneros I wanted to do at some point. Oh, file name too long. Classic. Oh, you did do a thing. You changed your ID. The Jimmy games are kind of interesting. Maybe I'll check the Sepulcher one then. We're gonna pivot over to an Arbus Vilius game. How did the stream quality look for you guys? Any troubles when we were actually in the game? Holding you. Good, no lag? Okay. Let's get back into it then. We are on Gilded Wall, map by Jujic. I provided some assistance with this one by virtue of having some custom tiles, most notably. Piss filter, that's naughty, Arbuz. Stop peeing. Play the game. Vilius is our Terran player in the bottom right, and he is the Alice Blue. Alice Blue Terran. Zerg in the bottom left is Sir Arbuz, who I believe is Sienna? Yeah, Sienna Zerg. Night is awful. Arbuz needs to get his eyes checked. SME. What kind of artist can't look at the dark? Yeah, the recolors are obviously, I think they're going to be a bit controversial in general, but this one is supposed to be a high noon color, and we have not actually tested it that much yet, so we might dial it in a little bit more at some point, but I think overall it has a nice little touch to it. I was actually thinking of putting this recolor on Water War. I think for the most part people will just have to be reasonable with the recolors from the mapping side, and then, you know, get used to it being a little bit different. It's not like, I don't think it affects readability, to be quite honest. Night colors are very hard to make look right with just filter. Yeah. I actually don't know what... I think by night, though, they are just meaning, like, evening, like dusk. There's a couple of dusk colors that are, like, on Tsunami, there's a nighttime recolor active. I think that might be the only one. I have to think about that. Anyway, this map is indeed from Starcraft 2. The two players were talking about that before we tabbed into the game. Arb is obviously a heavy favorite in this particular head-to-head matchup, but there's enough bio here to hold back the Zeth, so if he's going to win, he ain't going to do it at the very beginning of the game. Ahmed claims a frag from the great beyond. Good control from Arbuz. I don't get to say that too often, honestly. Not that he has bad control other times, just that I look at him and I don't necessarily think of like a high APM player, but he's doing pretty well. He's actually dialing his APM. I think he has more APM as Zerg than he does as Protoss, which maybe makes sense. Protoss was always the noob race, you know what I mean? But I don't know. It's kind of just a funny observation to have. Catching a Cyprian in the middle of the map is definitely big ups. Oh shit, it's Jimmy. Oh my god. Godwheat keeps changing his username to Godwheat. Ah, another Cyprian falling in the middle of the map. These are pretty good catches here from Arbuz. He's finally going to run up against the wall of Ahmed. And down go all the Zeta cores, but I think they've more than paid for themselves. The Hatcherosk is up at the natural, and we have what looks to be the makings of either an anti-drop static defense structure or another Larvosk in the future. Burrow Trap set. Cannoli would be proud, smiling upon our Arbuz Budesh. And we do have a third stockade coming with the Ministry. Feels like Vilius probably could have developed his eco and his military a little bit more, a little bit quicker. Starpad only now coming on down. Okay, all right. And once again, a couple Cyprians are going to get got. So this army is way under strength for what it should. It should have 4 more Cyprians with it. And, you know, the Zethicores are just kind of for free moving across the map, punishing the move out. And Vilius is, as a result, not working out too well. Not working out too hot. Diagonal cross. Vilius has no idea where Arbuz is. He has no clue. He's only now figuring it out. Arakans are being killed by Zethicores. It's, oh, the humanity. Vilius has never seen a horizontal spawn map, apparently. Like, horizontally symmetric. Oh. Glad Green Eggs figured his audio out, and it wasn't me. Glad about that. Glad about that. Hey, by the way, guys, I have an update coming to the game pretty soon that will... it was based off of the latest Alex video where he was watching Wolfix versus Oya, and Wolfix was painting nuke targets and stuff. The Wolfix game showed me that Alex was like looking for the nuke but couldn't find it, and so I have programmed in a replay event that does the ping in the same way that it pings with combat. It pings when you put down your tech node or your monument of sin, as it were, if you're Protoss, and it'll also ping the location of a nuke. I'm going to add a ping for when the nuke actually succeeds. And also I added a ping for when Grief of All Gods starts, and I should add one for when it succeeds as well, I guess, just to sort of drive it home. Similar experience and vibes. So that's the idea. That's what we're doing. So if you guys have suggestions for other replay events that should be added, feel free. I know the StarCraft 2 has one where when a transport is loaded up, they will ping that to indicate that like a drop is fomenting. I'm not really sure that's super necessary, but I guess I could probably throw that in there. Now, here comes this very infiltrative drop, speaking of them. Quaz and one Zeth. That's pretty dangerous for a military. There's a couple of Cyprians that weren't on the rally. Vilius's lack of rally skill is actually helping him out here. He might not be able to get a single worker kill off of this, actually. Yeah, he's just going to get cleaned up immediately, and the Oboleth is unlikely to get out as well. Oh, I guess there's nothing over here in the natural. I like that Vilius basically didn't react to that, and he still was just fine. It's okay. It's good. That's how you want to play, honestly. You want to set yourself up for that. Apex node has been completed by Arbiz in the meanwhile, taking his third base. Closer to his opponent, expanding towards his opponent. Why can't I dorp off single units off dropship? You can. You click the name. So if we... he doesn't have a Trojan, so... Yeah, you just click the Huracan and it unloads. Vilius is such a character, honestly. I'm really grateful that players like Vilius exist. I was talking to Solstice about this, actually. How Vilius is a guy who will grind out a ton of games. He'll play a ton of games. And he just keeps going. Like, it doesn't matter how many times he loses. He's like, it feels like in some cases he's like a punching bag. But he just keeps playing. He just likes to play the game, you know? So I appreciate that, man. That's the kind of attitude that more people probably need. Now here comes a big attack from Vilius, speaking of. However, it's very discombobulated, and there's only 2 Cyprians with this army. This is not a very scary attack, in fact. Arbiz is probably a little bit concerned and confused as to why this attack is even happening. So the Shamans are going to get cleaned up. We got more Huracans coming in with no fire support. I guess they are the fire support. And there was a drop in the natural, or in the main base at the same time. The Circuit was taken out. Huracans were loose at trying to go after the Quaz. I love the deployed Shaman, but it's too far to help Ahmed. I guess Ahmed, in theory, doesn't need any help, but oh, they live with 1 HP. Never mind, he did need help. One more attack. Hashtag not my Ahmed. Khazithrith's set up over here. Lake is too far away to benefit from it. Oh! Jujik! Oh no! Oh no, Jujik! You put two ridges here. Jujik! Oh no, Jujik! How'd you do that? You stacked them, but there's not on this side. There's only one. I could multi-box them. Jeez. Well, Arbiz is hacking. That's how. If he wins this game, which, you know, to be fair, he has looked like the front runner. We're gonna blame it on that. Oh no! Oh, he wanted a treasury instead. I thought he did that by accident. Well, I guess he put down the ministry by accident. Adding a quarry. Going to be making a lot of Talos here in a moment. And, yeah. Shaman in the drop, I think, is a good choice. You know what I mean? Tier 2 on the way for Arbiz, as I'm trying to defend Servilius. The empty Trojan gets cleaned up by Nathrakors, which are tankier than before. Oh, look at that.
For real internet.
Thank you, Godwy. We are $5 closer to our donation goal to make up the difference between of what I paid for the Bonneth DeWalt show match. We still need to then raise the money for the StarCraft 2 show match, but once that's done, we can start working on the next show match. You know what I mean? So appreciate y'all. That puts us at what is it? Well, the bar is right there. I suppose I could read it. We need $7. $7 to finish the show match payback for. Not the most recent show match, but the one before it. Check it out. Streamlabs.com/Pronago. Thank you, Godwy. For real internet indeed. Love that we're going to see some multi-base gameplay here, but it's a very scary Zerg army. sauntering across the map right now. It does feel like Arbiz is going to have everything he needs to clean this army up, but the stim is out for the Mavericks, and the Shaman count is not too shabby, absorbing a lot of the pressure from those Lyralists, but I think there might just be enough. No, it's not going to be enough. Vilius will hold. For everything that Arbiz provided here, he didn't have that many Lyralists, and so his damage was not very good. No Ultra Cores, no Bactylus, no Teths, and certainly no Lakes to support DPS-wise. Vilius holds off the power of the Shaman that was not force-targeted by those Lyras. Oh shit!
No, you must use it for real internet.
All right, I'll remember that, Godweed. Thank you, sir. And here we go. The Claws trying to dive back in. Can they break these Shamans? That's the main target here of those Lyralisks now. Feels like Arbiz learning lessons in real time, just as we're making money in real time, baby. The stim comes in with reinforcing Mavericks, but the Shamans are falling, and that should be it. That's a wrap on this army. I still think Vilius has some play here. Both players floating a ridiculous amount of resources. Matadors have started to take to the field. 10 Mavericks a pop. He's made massive amounts of stockades. Barely saturated the third base, however, and a lot of Zethar cores piling up off of that rally. 8 workers, because, you know, when you see this amount of money, you think, I need more workers. I don't know. Talus setting up a treasury, starting to fly on over here, modeled by Delta Catamus, same as the Star Pad. And, of course, the new Ant Seal, for that matter. Godwheat is so based, I agree. Hello, Dr. Hoffenmeyer. You and Sanaf I don't recognize because Restream decided to tell me not who you are by YouTube chat standards, but instead who you are by YouTube account standards. So if you're new, welcome, and if you've been around for a while, feel free to tell me your AKA. But welcome to the stream, and I do appreciate the new Star Pad. It does feel pretty good. Sanaf is Arbiz. Oh, okay. What's up, Arbiz? Marsupial. Oh, okay. Welcome, buddy. The new Talus does look pretty good. It's a little grainy. We'll have to work on like the texture, the texel density. That's the term in 3D games. Treasury being set up now at the 2 o'clock position. But Arbiz has already taken more bases. Well, I guess this back base is going to start paying out a little bit of dividends. It has been depleted here, mined out, so that the back base can be harvested. Oh, Juju. How are we going to fix this? We got to strategize. Hop into a call, buddy. We'll start pumping crypto or something to fix that one up. Big production tab here for our Terran player. Our Zerg player is making the legendary Cherbrathalor. Don't look at it too hard, but it's waddling. Reclaimers are bad, so I make Plague. Oxal Plague as well. Pretty big pool force here. Apex node, of course, so more like a lake force. I don't know, right about now? With all of the harvesting that Vilius is doing, it feels like he might be able to mount some kind of comeback here. The Plague is clearly to try to counteract some of the Shaman healing. Not a bad idea. We were having a conversation recently about whether or not Plague will like reduce healing rates or something. I'm still not so sure we need like a Grievous Wounds equivalent, if you guys know League. Let's find out though. Matador is taking a charge directly at the Cherbrathalors. Melee out in droves. There's the Plague Field starting to spread the debuff, and it will be counteracted by the Shamans in enough number, but they're so far away from the front lines that that is collapsing very quickly. An ocean of red spreading the plague everywhere. And those Shamans are starting to fall as well. The Cherbrathalor is getting plenty of DPS strikes. Beautiful stuff there from Arbiz's composition. And a defensive nuke? Bro, this game's got everything. Trying to nuke the army and hold on long enough for it to matter. Does catch a couple of units on the back end there. Bioweapon and then nuclear launch. We love that. What a guy. Does he? Where's his? Okay, he's only got the one anvil. Oh, he's got two. He's actually got two. He's arming both of them. I suppose we'll probably see a few others soon. Clearing out top right, making sure that nothing is there at the 1 o'clock base. Arbus has taken 11 meanwhile. It feels like there ought to be a base over here at 12 o'clock, but we don't need one. The map doesn't need one. I'm just saying there's something. It's like, what? Isn't there one? There's a very long land path up here, but if Vilius goes that direction, then Arbus could just march onto his rally point. So, very deadly, dangerous game that Vilius is playing. After all of his heroics, the next attack move might end his fate, seal him into a coffin that is perpetually being shaman healed by nano machines and plagued by bio viruses. Not the right term, but you know. Here comes the flank. Very rare are the Zerg units, the ones that get flanked, but the Chibrathalors do not fall, despite the intense efforts of Vilius, and now we've got a Criminalisks coming. Those things have so much health. Zoryu's trying to rotate around. The reinforcements come in a big way, and that should be enough to clean up the flank. There was a Savant with them as well, but that didn't last very long. Still no tier 2. Vilius instead trying to bank a bunch of Eidolons. He's going to need to paint miraculous nuke targets here in a moment. So it feels. Ah, he's already encountered the experience of trying to, get units over here. Nope, you're not allowed. There's a mineral wall there. Try again later. Hi. I see you have an anvil there. Now just go after the Masons. That's probably a better target. You don't actually know if this is loaded as the Zerg player, so we can see it's not. He was really oversaturated on that sieve. He must have thought there was a stacked set of stuff over there, like in Arbiz's side. By the way, Arbiz is mining the Eskagant with 3, but he's not mining the Ridge at all, so he's technically being honorable and not taking advantage of that. Agroleth, I saw that bad boy earlier. Holy crab! 15 Criminalisks. Dude, this game has everything. Tier 2 has finally begun for Vilius. No, that's Tier 3. Holy moly, I didn't even notice he got Tier 2. He hasn't used it. What Tier 2 does he even have? You have Tier 2 yet? What? You saw Churbs. Churbs are Tier 2. Maybe. Maybe, as the Criminalisks arrive. Oh my god. You cannot... You can't defeat the crab. A Criminalisk has 800 life. You actually need a nuke. Oh, I don't know what's going on over here. Well, GG. Yummy, says Solstice, and that was a game of Cause Monarchy, boys and girls. Yeah, you have to upgrade your Ovaleth in order to make a Chibrathalor transportable. Wow, honestly, that game was kind of cinema. It was a sneaky one, wasn't it? Like, we weren't really thinking that would be an all-time matchup or anything, but that was kind of good. That was kind of good. I like that. Oh no, God, we will be drinking. Unbelievable. The boys were having fun. That's right, that's right. So we got some more games queued up here to cast. I'm just hanging out with you guys, and I appreciate that Godweed has already started some funding stuff up. So let's go ahead and update our Streamlabs goal real quick for the future donos who may hit us. I think I'm logging in with Twitch. Yeah. Just, what a username. That's kind of like there's an NA player named Flash FTW. Obviously Flash for the win, right? And one of the things that I think about is like, not that it would ever happen, but imagine if that fan was fighting Flash in a tournament at some point. You know what I mean? But you know, you could have your username call out AOT, and then you could be playing him and beat him. Holy, what happens then? He's got to change his username. And then your username won't make sense anymore. All right, lads. I'm going to go ahead and drop the new donation goal. We have achieved the one that we had set out to, so that the money that I paid Boneth and DeWalt is now back in my bank account. Now we just need to do the same thing for the Indy versus Mixu show match. It's a little bit lower of a amount, so a little bit easier to achieve. And again, when that's done, we'll start raising money for our next pro show match. Odds are, because, you know, things get a little bit tight financially for a lot of people around the holidays, that's probably going to be like a January thing. At which point, Escozy will be available. So we might end up seeing, you know, we might set it up so that it's like a show match between a pro, you know, from one game or another, and then one of our homies who's switching to Escozy. That could be pretty cool. Funnier game is the Shambler one. I will have to check that one out. I was kind of saving that one for a video. And I, like I said earlier at the start of the stream, I don't know if any of these casts will go on YouTube. I have so many YouTube videos because I'm doing it every other day, so it's a lot easier to keep up with it. I do need to cast some shorties, so that for TikTok. I have TikTok covered until the 25th, which is when I'm getting internet again, and then I have YouTube covered until the 30th. So, motherfucker, typing in Ukrainian, I can't understand that. All I can say is Dyakuyu. I actually do have I think this stuff is Dobre Wecher, is how you would say good evening. I have a couple of ones written down here, but I didn't annotate which language it is, where you would say Dobro Udnia, or good day. So I have I learned a couple of things in Ukrainian. Zevia boys. Zevia's zero sugar soda. I'm trying one. I can taste the artificial sweeteners in a really like shocking way, kind of, so. Fluent in Ukrainian, there it is, yeah. I'm trying to remember how to pronounce this one, though. Vizedobre? Vizedobre? Something like that. Is everything good? You just ask Shambler that every time, you know? Hit him up and Hapsea were chatting it up in voice earlier, and I wonder what they were planning. You guys know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Makes me think. Oh shit! Art of Turtle just signed up for both the Tribunal and the Weekend Wage. Hell yeah, brothers! We got an AOT in our hands. Something happened with my cached Tribunal 3, I think. Yeah, we're gonna have to bulk add participant. I probably didn't save it. I had like a thing I was working with. All right, well, that's 6 confirmed souls we'll see on Sunday, tomorrow, 12 o'clock noon. You know you're getting DQ? Gee. Glad to have Art of Turtle join us. Very epic. All right, guys. Speaking of, maybe we should see if we can find an AOT game. I think there was one that... well, hold on. Let me just get through the games that I have pulled away here. That was the Gilded Wall game. Let's do a Solstice versus Vilius game. I feel like that's a good idea. It was on demo. Haven't seen demo in a little bit. It'll be good. Finally, somebody I can put Vilius as the top seed over. Although Solstice plays pretty well, like, overall is a solid enough player fundamentally. Just that we haven't seen him do much gaming recently. He was playing against Newt. Aoud isn't super active right now, so I guess you could say Newt is our top Terran, but Aoud still kicks around every now and then, so I can't give him that completely. We're good. That's okay, lads and lasses. We are casting here today Solstice, taking on Vilius. That's a lot of S. And Vilius is in the top left as our Burnt Umber? Dark Bronze Terran. I was kind of close. Solstice is in the bottom right as our Periwinkle Proton. Big ups there. Gateway on the way. Solstice is, of course, the man behind a bunch of models. I can tell now why he modeled the Scribe. You know what I mean? The probe equivalent here in Cosmonarchy. The reason is, he plays Protoss, and so he wanted to look at one of his own creations immediately. Immediately. He would not be delayed or denied. Unbelievable. Unbelievable scenes. Vilius will be opening Mech versus Protoss. Pretty bog standard here. Has been the world's punching bag in Cosmonarchy for a little bit now. I love to see him constantly do gaming. And get some good ups in there. And honestly, he has to deal with a lot of defeats, but after you deal with enough defeats, you loses improve, more GG, more skill. Can't believe Solstice is about to... No! No! Delay the Fulcrum at the max capacity and kill the Mason and leave. Oh. Oh. Every Terran cried out in pain simultaneously. It's going to be a double Drakodon fight. Solstice didn't make the Drakodon model. This is actually Balathal's work. Don't worry. What the fuck is that? Solstice shit talking. Oh, I see. I probably forgot to queue a worker because of that. Yeah, he's too busy being throwing shade. I think they might have been in voice chat, so Vilius might have complained about that verbally or something. So, the Drakodons will riposte the Vultures relatively easily at this current juncture. We do have a second Fulcrum and a Stockade finishing him. I believe this is going to be for a Vestry add-on. We have Goliaths already being made. Vilius might be channeling his inner Nicholas and seeing if he can do the Goliath build, although that did require a lot of timing. I actually wonder if the Goliath build is something that people have actually noticed, or, like, is that something that still plagues the... the average game of Cosmonarchy between, Class 2s, Class 3s, etc. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Solstice does very occasionally get... He goes through stints, He'll play a little bit. He'll drop 3 Drakodons in somebody's main base. He'll refuse to elaborate. He'll leave. He did that to Top Ramen a few times. Oh, I love that he's using the Scribe to clear the mines. That does give him a little bit of freedom here, and down goes one of Vilius's fresh vultures. Oh my god, he's really pulling a Neblime here, pulling so many mines with the Scribe. And he can just kind of sit here and tank that one. He doesn't mind whatsoever. One Vulture is not going to kill anything. Rotated over is the Stockade, and it's a Covenant. Okay, so Vilius is considerably more committed to an early timing than he might initially think. Solstice is probably going to run away with the game from this point onward, unless Vilius finds a small attack timing here. Going Covenant before your natural is up is very, very gas intensive. That's like 350 Vespene. Looks like the Vultures may have been cleaned up already, and oh, perfect timing here. He's going to actually stop the Mason from building the anchor multiple times over. A third one has to come on down. He's interrupted the Ministry in the process, and doesn't quite get that last one, and will lose a few Draconids on the way out, but still, that was so much damage. He kills the third Mason as well, so that further delays the Ministry. Another one is going to have to be sent over. And all this, all Solstice is going to have to worry about is right now a single Eidolon. Look, he already has a Witness out for mine coverage. I mean, he's equipped. He could probably just walk in and dismantle things even further. Still no Mason coming? Or, yeah, wow, okay. One more Stockade being made instead, and Vilius maybe now noticing. Grand Library on the way for our modeler extraordinaire. Oh, and there's the Envoy. It only has 2 Draconids this time. One of them a little bit chip damaged out, but this is a bad fight. Do not fight a Goliath with 2 Draconids, by the way. That's not a good idea. At least he can scoot out with it, because Vilius did not target down the Envoy. Especially with the repairs, the Goliath could have just ignored the Draconids and killed the transport, and it would have been fine. People underestimate how tanky Goliaths are on both sides of the aisle there. On the Protoss side, they're like, oh, it's a Goliath. I can kill that with 2 Draconids. On the Terran side, they're like, oh, it's a Goliath. That'll be killed by anything. Dude, there's a reason why Nicholas has been finding success against players who have more familiarity, more games played recently. All that. With the Goliath build. There's a reason. Out come the 2 Draconids. Once again, heckling things. Might get a couple of Mason kills here. Indeed, just one of them going down so far. And the Envoy gets out without too much pressure. The Eidolons were revealed by that first drop, by the way, so more Witness production should be a possibility here. The Herald looming. Check it out, by the way. Oh, yeah, ignore this. This is not an epigraph. It's a Herald. I just screwed up the icon. I promise. It's really just the Herald. Look, it has a custom portrait. It's epic, and when it moves again, we'll see its trail. Oh, so cool. We love Solstice. We love Solstice's models. He's an epic guy. Epic man. And even though he won't show the Herald moving, there's another one. Pretty epic. A Cantor on the way. He clearly wants to drop that. Third base coming down at 6 o'clock as Artisans rotate over. Artisan model by Delta Catamus. Shout out him. Goliath model also by Solstice, by the way, so he was reposted by his own model. Can you believe that? Oh. This guy doesn't like that guy. That's all. That's lore of Vilius' army for you. Sieve capped up there in both the main and the natural, so plenty of gas income now for the Terran player. Watchdog of the Extremis feels like probably should have happened a bit sooner, but that's all right. And a whole group of Heralds coming out because Solstice wants to win in style. I feel like when we get to it, right? When we get to the point where like we got like the Acantor remodel in, you know, we got the Amaranth remodel at some point. I mean, we're going to be sitting so cool, so pretty. Protoss are going to be looking pretty snazzy. I mean, just look at this right here. That's beautiful. Taking a screenshot of that. Massing out his doorstep, however, Vilius has no interest in the beautiful, in the pretty. He will just try to range down this army, and he's got a nice little angle there with the Cyclops splash damage and the Eidolons picking initial targets. Down goes a Herald, speeding everything up in the process. Draconin drop looking for some impact. There are some mines here to catch, and they do stun just about everything after one shot goes off, so Vilius will be able to jump on this. Maybe a little bit slower than he would have liked to be, but it will observe just a little bit of lack of multitasking on Solstice's part. He's not actually targeting down workers right now and has not saturated his 6 o'clock base. Narrowly escapes with one of those Dragonins. I mean, doesn't Vilius have a star pad? He does. One Wraith would help shut this down a bit. Just to curtail it a little bit. You know, it's not going to kill the Envoy immediately, but it's just consistent damage. I mean, the other thing he could do is what he's doing now, which is put the Watchdog there, but I don't know. Either one, the Wraith is a little bit more flexible. You can actually scout with it pretty easily. Maybe heckle the Artisans that are over here at the 6 o'clock position. A Clarion arrives, 2 of them in fact. They're detection, but they are not cloaked, so it's a little bit easier for Vilius to snipe them with Eidolons. However, they do also provide a shield link passive that's called Phase Link. And basically, you know, it's demonstrated by these Zealots here. Every unit that takes shield damage will have some of that shield damage spread across all other units that are linked. And this does recurse, which means that, you know, a Clarion shielding this unit and a Clarion shielding another unit nearby, but when these 2 Clarions are also shielding each other, when they're also linked to each other, it will still distribute across the entire party there. So it can be very, very large scale. Bit of a discipline. Yeah, I guess we're going to say a split here from Solstice. Down goes one of the Clarions immediately, by the way, and there's the other one. Probably not long for this world either. However, it does dial back and allow some of those units to push a little bit further forward, but there's no detection over here now to cover some of those mines, and the Eidolons are getting engaged upon. The Heralds, oh, they're popping mines, and it's stunning more Eidolons than it is the Protoss units. Still, the Akantor, the last man standing on the right-hand side. I mean, Solstice is in a little bit of a worse position than he thought militarily. He's going to be beaten back by Vilius's bio, but at what cost? The Zealot's now going to engage onto the Eidolons and change this whole calculus. Remember, the Witness is still here for detection for the ranged units as well, and you cannot play dodgeball very efficiently with the Eidolon. They do need to be able to sit in one spot to really get the most out of their DPS. So they dial back, and Vultures are now going to storm the gates. We got 8 more Eidolons waiting at home and a lot of Idol Masons. No third base on the way just yet for our Terran. Solstice does have an economic lead, but Vilius has the bank lead, which is actually a disadvantage. He should not have that many minerals in reserve, and there is indeed a Draconin drop ready to dismantle any on-location base, which is on the way at 12 o'clock. So that's a little bit spooky. Solstice going for the Unitary Union as many more Protoss units emerge from their gateways. He is queued up like a mother and a father. Queue up a baby together in holy matrimony. Nexus in the bottom left for base number 4. And we are definitely going to be seeing a hell of a lot more action in this game. Why, Vilius, do you continue to hurt your own army? Once again, a Ministry is going to be halted, but will it be outright canceled? I think the answer is no. There's a couple of Vultures screaming their way over to the 12 o'clock. Remember, one of those Draconins is very wounded. So this will result in Solstice withdrawing. I like the little chasing with the mines. Just a cheeky little move there. Has allowed the Protoss to take that middle spoke, the sort of lower 6 o'clock spoke. And a couple of these units are being pushed away. Down goes the Envoy, with its contents exploding upon the surface of whatever planet this is on Demaloon. A port of Overwatch from Starcraft 1. No, not that Overwatch. It's the Overwatch from Starcraft 1. No, we did not hand back the source code for Starcraft so that we could download Overwatch. No, that was not us. Architects on the way for Solstice, and we have more and more Heralds being produced because he just wants to keep using this unit. It's so epic! Look at it! It is pretty epic. Got a custom portrait and everything. Anseal's on the way for some of that counter detection. Try to clear out the Witnesses courtesy of the power that is provided by the Eidolons. Our Ghost equivalent. Yes, you can make them versus Protoss. They don't have damage types, so they do pretty good sniper damage. But if you engage upon them, they forcibly decloak, and then you're in big trouble. The Heralds go down, speeding up everybody else in the process, and that allows the Zealots to really storm onto those Eidolons. Storm would be a great choice right now, but we don't have any Cantavis. Zealots still trying to keep things going up that ridge, and there's a big flank of Vulture Hurakan. Motorbikes, and then you got Ahmed charging onto the front line, seeing what he can do to let everything on fire, and a big flank around with more Hurakan Eidolon around the corner there. So this should be an isolated army. You can see Vilius trying his best to lay the mines that will at least attempt to stun this army for the Protoss. As the Akantor goes down, we will end up seeing this army be routed. Though for a moment there, because he withdrew his Hurakans, Solstice could have pounced upon those Eidolons and made it very, very costly. We do have more and more Heralds coming out. We have the Architect starting to pour forth, and a lot of Zealots from those gateways, which is absolutely something that Solstice needs. He's actually reinforcing his Draconin count, which I think we're getting into diminishing returns of. And only now is he starting to think about that bottom left base. You know, a couple idle workers here at the 6 o'clock base and starting to cap the Vespene nodes inside his main and his natural, which is going to cut his Vespene income quite a bit in the interim until those structures are complete and the workers are retasked. Eidolons shellacking from afar as the Hurricans give their lives to extend the range, the effective range of their compatriots, their sniping invisible compatriots. And once again, this ridge is going to be collapsed upon by Solstice, where you're seeing a bit of a push and a pull. Two players duking it out, battling it out for a very long time. We got some mines laid at the 12 o'clock, but no defenses there otherwise. And the Masons are fighting back, only to be stunned by the mine that they were protecting. Slowly but surely, Vilius is trying to clear that position out, but now his bridge is under duress. A couple Eidolons on the other side. Architects have arrived and kind of ignored a few of the Eidolons on the approach, but still, this is a very costly attack as Vilius is losing every Mason he has here. He has evacuated a bunch over to the top right, so at least there's that. But this ministry is going down. No detection here for Solstice. Those Eidolons are skating by the skin of their teeth. Hiding in plain sight, quite literally, and we've got a big bank for both players once again, particularly in the mineral department. A Cantor is being deployed and then destroyed by the Eidolons, and down goes the Architect, this very committed force that didn't quite claim the life of the Ministry. And again, a decent evacuation over to the top right means that Vilius is still doing okay when it comes to his economy, but that might not last for very long, as now another force pushes in directly to the natural, where there are 23, well, actually a little bit more than that, 25 Masons waiting to be called. Eidolons rotating over to try to stop that. The Architects are open season. Easy snipe target here. There's no front line. Immediately in a good position to deal with this. The Draconans having to be that front line for a moment, and now the Zealots can try to execute the targets. The Herald allowing them to be pushed forward a little bit faster. Any ally that dies in the presence of a Herald will start to speed things up the same way that the Ecclesiast works. And the Architect will fire a couple more salvos in the process, but can't quite see most of the targets to split its missile. Remax coming in from Solstice to try to clear 12 o'clock, which still has not returned to mining. And he's still developing mostly his military, not making any additional Masons is our Vilius. Well, I say that, he is actually producing some more. He queued a bunch up, but not making very many new tech units, you know? He's kind of stuck on the same tech, just trying to make ends meet, trying to get this monkey off his back. And I ain't making an ape toss pun. The Dragonans that are here should be able to finish this ministry off if Solstice focuses on it, which has not been his hitherto strength. But it looks like it might be accepted by these Masons on a repair. Clutch move there from Vilius. He doesn't have a front line for these units. He needs to be careful of the Zealots. That has been his undoing, it feels like, in so many of these engagements. And now it does feel like he has run out of military. He's only making a bunch of Hurricans right now, despite his considerable bank. We got mines everywhere here as well on the left-hand side of the map, but that's not where the threat is coming from. Some Cyclops and a lot of Hurricans here with a couple of Vultures for additional tankingness. The bridge under duress again. Triple a Cantor will clear all of these Hurricans, ending them. I can't believe it. The Cantor's maxing has arrived, and that has got to be game. I mean, how can Vilius go on from here? 9 Eidolons produced. Very weird spacing on his production structures, but there's so many Zealots that the Eidolons won't live. GG is called. Solstice takes the game, and we'll ignore the banks at the end there, but that was a slobber knocker, a slugfest, an entertaining match of Cosmonic. Neutron's right, though. Protoss should just make up Tecton and win. Well, that was a GG. That was cool. Yeah, the new Herald is pretty sick. I feel that way, Marsupial, about a bunch of our... I actually think the Huracan looks better than the remastered Firebat. I mean, it's a little bit of a different unit role, so works a bit differently, right? But yeah, I dig it. I'm a big fan of our first-party models here. Green Eggs knows. We got so many people doing some gaming on our Discord server as well. Big ups to all you homies who are keeping the games going. In fact, I should probably refresh. Dude, since I started streaming, we've had a bunch of replays uploaded. That's pretty sick. That's pretty sick. Neblime just pinged for some action. He wants to see if he can join a lobby or something. Very cool. Very happy. Oh shit, Shambler's gonna face Neblime. They have a best of 9 of best of 9s, and I think they're only 2 best of 9s through. I think Neblime is up 2-0 in that. Or maybe I only casted 1. I casted a best of 5 that decided who picked first, and then I casted the best of 9. I don't think I ever did get the other one. Anyway, that's pretty cool. Big fan, big fan. Just wait for the replay. Kelly. However, there is a Neblime game that I would like to cast. So, do I want to do it right now, though? What if I do? All right, we saw what was it? We've seen Solstice play. We already saw Arbiz Budesh play, but and we attempted to see Sausage play earlier, but there's another Gilded Wall replay that I would like to take a look at, and that is coming right up. It is Arbiz Budesh versus Sausage. Oh, they played on Magnetron as well. Okay. All right. I guess I'll take a look at this. Take a look at that game later too. That looks like a fun one. I haven't seen any Smarty gameplay in a little bit. Hey, what's up, Vilius? Goodbye, Jimmy. GG's. Thanks for hanging out. Oh, Magnetron was a desync. No good ending. Gotcha, gotcha. Well, we'll skip that one and go for Gilded Wall. That's fine. I dig it. I'm glad Sausage plays like the most absurd colors. Just so that it's impossible to see. Ladies and gentlemen, Pronago bringing you another Cause Monarchy cast, and it's Arbiz Budesh taking on Sausage. A Zerg versus Protoss. We used to be inundated with these, absolutely drowning in ZVP. Now, it's time for that to come back. We need more Protoss gamers. Protoss gamers unite! Ape toss, gateway toss, let's see it. Of course, it's all down to whether or not our Protoss homies are skilled enough to pilot their race successfully. In the bottom right, we have Arbiz Budesh as our Vine Green, no, Emerald actually, Emerald Zerg. And in the bottom left, we have Sausage, our Jet Black Protoss player, who is seemingly already checking out the unique features of Gilded Wall, a map by Jujic. 2 gate for him, and of course you'll see the minimap colors are not in sync with our player colors. That's just because Sausage's color is impossible to read on the minimap, so I ain't even gonna try to put you guys through that. Hydra's then most of the way complete. We are going to be able to see what these two are up to, what these two have been grinding out as far as games go. Hydrath first from Arbiz is kind of interesting. He's going to go the Iziracore build. Iziracore's got cheaper, but they deal less damage. And I've been eagerly awaiting to check out some of these new Zerg changes, particularly with the Hydrath Den. So I would love to see whether or not that has turned into anything in particular about... regarding the resource amount or anything like that, you know. It's going to be a 2-gate opening, 2 Draconin opening specifically, and the Scribe will arrive. Will it arrive in time to do anything about the Hatrosk? I mean, the answer is yes, it would have, but it didn't actually do anything about that. Iziracores are going to be heckling the Scribe for a bit longer, considering they do as much damage. Nice lag switch. He is Peruvian, dude. It is a problem. Oh, he must have right-clicked back to his home base, and then it tried to go down through this area, so... You do have to be watchful of that and cognizant of that on this particular map. I guarantee you that's going to catch a lot of people off guard. So in StarCraft 1, structures, which resources kind of are, and they're also kind of not in some ways, any unit or structure is considered like, obviously it blocks pathing for other ground units, but it doesn't get read by the pathing data. They'll just try to avoid it. They don't consider it terrain. So yeah, that's basically the explanation. We've got a couple of more Iziracores on the way. A couple, 5. You can spam them out. They just don't do as much damage. And as a result, I actually don't know how good they're going to be versus Protoss. You think about the armor that the Draconin has. You look at the Iziracore, it does not have any armor pen. So, you know, that might be something. It's the same thing that I did with the Hydralisk, because initially I reduced its weapon damage by 2, but I didn't give it any compensatory armor penetration, right? And so maybe the Iziracore, if it's going to go from 8 to 5 damage, maybe it also needs 1 armor pen so it doesn't get as relegated to the dustbin by Protoss or by high armor comps. Rogue Gallery on the way for Sausage and a Matrix in his mineral line. He's already got static defense over here at the ramp, which is peculiarly placed. You could still like harvest the ridge just fine. That's not a concern, but I do wonder why he's equipping himself in that area. You know what I mean? There's a lot of Iziracores. Last patch this would have been really scary, but also you would have had less of them because they cost a little bit less money. Let's see. He shouldn't try to bother fighting the army, I feel like, here. He is out of range of most of the static defense. Yeah. The Zealots are taking a little bit too long to die. Yeah. Arbiz is like, wait, why are your units still alive? And he's going to have to come in here and see how he can heckle the workers. He should still be able to get a couple of worker kills here, but he's not really... Oh, no, that is ugly. That is an ugly choice. I love the attack speed buffed Matrix as well. Really rapid fire healing. Well, those Iziracores are not going to get much done, and behind it, Arbiz in disbelief. He cannot believe he's done 0 damage, and he needs to get back to harvesting some resources here. Khaz'Trith and Surkith on the way, and then he's going to put down another Kagrant for more static defense. Certainly concerned about the counterattack, the counter-stab from Sausage. Has no worries about typing up play. By the way, you can ignore the 6 o'clock stuff. It's not Sausages. It's neutral non-resources are color-coded as ally, and so that's why yellow Sausage and red Zerg is because apparently, according to the replay, Arbiz is the enemy. You heard it here first. But yeah, the temple is actually theoretically a sneaky spot there. We'll see how well it works. That's not going to work out very well at all for Sausage. That's outplayed right there too. Arbiz, in fact, should type it. No, he types go away. But when you walk into a static defense with Ecclesiasts, it's pretty hard to do much. Oh no, his Kabbalist is confusal. You know, if we wanted to make this a really Protoss map, what we would do is we'd put like neutral eggs here, volatile eggs that block building and stuff, and then you could attack them with the Kabbalist and it would teleport. Just saying, Jujik, if you really want to help the Protoss out, since I know you are also a Protoss. Skill issue, Sausage. Skill issue. Just right-click differently. Or harvest them out, deplete them. That's probably the single biggest issue that this map is going to face in this environment. Even if it seems to make really, really good games once people adapt to it. It's the same reason why I always railed against, I think the map was called Nemesis in ASL. It was way worse, though. Nemesis was honestly, I can't believe they greenlit that map. It was kind of outrageous. I might have typed things in chat this game, nothing for Fane. Oh, okay. Well, I missed them probably already, unless they're later on, Arbuz. Godwheat says that Sausage finished another game recently that was pretty cool. I guess maybe I'll check it out. Holy shit, I hate Nemesis. It's any map that's like really intolerable to play. Like, in this particular case, as long as you don't right-click the other person's main from your main, your units are actually going to path correctly from what we tested. So that part isn't really that big of a deal. Like you just have all your rallies, all your production structures sort of almost aiming towards the top there. I think even down here, if you rally like here, you're still good. Yeah, and that's not usually where people would rally on this map anyway. So yeah, just some adjustments need to be made. But Zoracore is coming out pretty early here. Apex node already achieved by Arbuz off of the 2 base. And while Sausage is going for his 3rd base, the Iziracore pops in here to see but that's where the military is, and it is going to open up an opportunity for Arbuz to make a different decision. Now, he still wants to go after this, which can be flanked by the rally point of Sausage. It feels like maybe an unsound choice here. That engram is not going to last for very long. Bactalisks in small numbers, but this is still a really scary attack force. The engram is enchanted a little bit by the Hierophant, but yeah, you got to evacuate this base. Olympus has fallen here, man. Engram trying to do what it can on the damage side, but now it's aggroed onto a Tetzoricore, and that's fine. A couple Barghest's going to heckle this position inside the main base. There's 4 of them. I mean, it's not a bad choice in theory, but not working out quite as well as maybe Sausage had hoped. He's only killed, what, like 2 workers? He does have the worker lead, but losing this base is a lot of economic tempo gone. Also, yes, this is still going on. We'll fix that later. And yeah, they're kind of sicking themselves onto the Hydras. They'll kill 1. They killed the 3rd worker in the meanwhile, but that was not cost efficient. 2 more actually joined up. And the Nexus will eventually die, I promise. But no armor end here. I think if Arbuz added a little bit of Zoryus to his life, he'd probably feel a bit better. Oh, the Kabbalists finally go in, but hey, there was a Khazitrit there for detection. Can't believe it. He only has 6 Hydras with that composition. Everything else doesn't do any damage to armor. I guess the Saber Ray is alright, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Not the greatest DPS there. The Nexus doesn't attack, right? So it doesn't get the Bone of Reflection. So that's a lot of the Tetzoricore DPS, actually. Can't be mono-comping. I wonder what Sausage is talking about now. I didn't even see him get fluffed on his pathing or anything. What? Oh, they're hiding. See? Can you see him? Up here. I was confused. And concerned. Well, Arbuz really is monocomping, isn't it? Mono-noding, I should say. He's on 1 tech node here. One of the things that I think the changes that was a little underrated about the changes that went under the radar, I should say. Underrated is yet to be determined. About the changes to the Zerg is that, like, you can go pool, depending on the composition. The, you can definitely do that. You can go for the den, obviously, but you now need a little bit more armor rend. So you need that from either pool or you need it from the Zoryus, more likely, from the Shroud. So a little bit more going on there. Tetzoricore should be okay in this kind of situation, but the Kabbalists are actually front-loading a ton of damage. And they are not being cleaned up just yet. No detection available for Arbiz. Not that he necessarily needs it. Pariah kind of face tanking there. Immediately loses its shields and a healthy amount of its HP. So those are kind of like the main face tanks here for Sausage. Trying to do a bit of a split here. I like the idea. Not quite working out that as he converges, however. The more Tetzoricors coming in. And that will be a wipe on the army almost immediately here for Sausage. He's lost almost all of his front line. And the last stander is the Pariah. So looking pretty scary here as Arbiz, despite all of his typing. He definitely has the momentum now. Going up to a 4th base. His 3rd is starting to get saturated. Not really so many workers there yet. Still down in workers, down material in terms of what Sausage has. And we have a lot more Pariahs from that. And 1 single Mind Tyrant on the queue, but it's going to be a little bit before that's done. I guess the Tetzorikar count is... It's good, but it's actually not in the right position for this army. So there's an opportunity for Sausage to maybe come back a little bit here. All of his Pariahs attacking the same Tetzorikor clump is really, really good. And again, remember, there's no armor penetration here. Hardly any at all. There's 1 on the Hydra, and there's no armor rend here to help out the rest of the units and, of course, the Hydra itself. So that defensive position is a little bit too risky for Sir Arbiz to be pushing into, it looks like. And he still hasn't changed the tech nodes that he has available, has he? Starting to harvest the resources that allow him to get to that back base, which is interesting. 14 Droleth on the way, which is certainly overdue for that 3rd base. And if he wants to go up to 2 o'clock and saturate that as well, that would make some sense. Guarding the 10 o'clock position, a couple of Draconids coming out here. I think that was an error, but not entirely sure. And a Synthetic Synod on the way as more Mind Tyrants get queued up. Gonna kill that pylon just so it's out of his way, and it looks like he'll be empowering his Pariah. It's actually the one that's wounded. Well, not the most wounded here, I guess, but I'd be a little bit concerned about that one. Okay, another max on the army. Yeah, it feels like Arbiz can kind of just set up a sort of soft contain so that there's no good opportunity to avoid getting a surround when Sausage pushes out. Obviously, there's this little pathing breaker, and then, but you can set up here, and then maybe a little bit of units up here on the high ground. Instead, Arbiz is taking a relatively slow tier 2, but a relatively fast 4th base now starting to come online in terms of saturation levels. And he's got pretty reasonable infrastructure over here. This is going to be static defense farm, I'm sure. I don't like where his army is positioned, per se. It's like giving Sausage a lot of breathing room, but I can't argue too much with the situation that he's putting himself into. Yeah. Lot of Mind Tyrants here, and the Synthetic Synod is nearly complete as well for our Protoss player. We'll see what Sausage wants to do up with this in a moment. More static defense assembling in the top right. Yeah, I don't know that Arbiz has realized it yet, but he does need to actually target this mineral field in the back. They don't automatically skip over it for non-depleted ones. It would probably make sense to try to do that kind of automatically, but, hasn't been explored from a technical perspective how to do that yet. We do have another base being set up in the upper right. We'll call that the 1 o'clock, I guess. Or just the top right corner. That's probably fine. Top right being taken. That is base number 5 for the Zerg. And has taken advantage of a faster or a larger economy now. He's been drolling really, really heavily. So not a lot of military reinforcement. Well, that's what Sausage has predominantly been doing. So there's a window of opportunity here where even though the economy looks super scary for the Zerg, his military isn't as spooky and he doesn't have a great position to actuate it. And so Sausage is going to be setting up this kind of concentrated firepower. Down goes the Scribe. That's unfortunate and a little unforced. You usually want to clear that out with a military unit first. Still hasn't actually turned any of these into anything yet. I kind of dig it because, you're biding time, and then when you're forced to fall back a little bit, it's a different story. But we are going to go for the Kaphalosk, some of the Oxal Larva, and the Mutat Spire finishes up. There's a ton of money in reserve here for Arbiz. He's sat on almost 4K resource, over 4K minerals and a lot of Vespa, and he's going to go ahead and make 18 Protathalors. My only concern is that it feels like it's coming online a little bit too late. He needs to absolutely hold on to all of, maybe not every single last unit, but a lot of these units. And I love to see the Zerka Shroud on the way as well. Pariah loses all of the Mind Tyrant energy overshield there, but the reaction is very late from Arbiz. He's actually committing to this fight. This is only half of his army, and he does not have the Protathalors in here either. So most of his resources, in terms of military units, have not actually been leveraged in the fight. Very, very one-sided affair. It looks like Arbiz decided he was just going to allow that fight to collapse and then kind of use that to bide time, but it doesn't really bide time, and you don't have a lot of Tetsura cores over here either, so your front line is not as ideal as it could be. The Protathalor is now revealed. Some Mutalisks for a counterattack would be very juicy, but it is a little bit of a ways away. Maybe the Protats can kind of riposte this assault for now. We got a lot of very brittle Zerg units here. They take 1.5x damage because of the fact that they are mind-controlled. Oh, no. Thankfully, that rally got corrected. The Mute is now revealed, a little bit more obvious, and, well, most of the Zerg-controlled units are going to get taken out. Where the Protathalor is focused on, let's try to find out. Trying to snipe down those Malefactor Pariahs. We have a few more still where that came from. There's so many of them, and just crushing through the lower part of this area, this fight, and it is seemingly collapsing. A Maelstrom goes live on the units up top, and there's a Demiurge to boot. I think Arbiz has maybe let Sausage play SimCity for a little bit too long. Tried to play it a little bit passively. In theory, I like the idea, but he had a lot of money, and he had a lot of opportunity. And I think now we see, okay, Sausage went for an opening that was given to him. GG. That is a wrap. Sausage will take the game, and that's really weird, right? I mean, just look at the bars here. You look at that and you think, well, Arbiz should have had that game, but he let his, one chunk of his army die with basically no contest, and then the other chunk wasn't as powerful, and the Protathalors needed that front line to stay alive a little bit longer. Rest in peace, Zerg. We go to another Protoss victory. Woe the times that we live in. He clicked drop player. See, Neblime is grinding. Let's take a look here. There was a Sausage versus Kutyam Supin game that I was told to check out. I'm guessing it was the one that Smarty was witnessing. What do you guys think? I'll throw a couple of ideas out here. You guys can tell me what you want to see. That was Arbiz Sausage Gilded Wall. That was pretty good. I like that game. There were no Reclaimers in that game. Sorry. I kind of want to save that Shopkeeper Dog Neblime game for later. That looks like a really good one. Dog-lived Kutyam. Crisis Vector? I guess I haven't technically casted Crisis Vector in a little bit. I did cast Crisis Vector on Thursday, I think it was. Because I casted a bunch of Weekend Wage games. I definitely casted it then. It's pretty epic that I can just refresh Replay Kraken over here, cosmonarchy.com/matches. I can just refresh that and download some replays and see what's going on. I think that's pretty sick. All right. We're going to do Neblime versus Art of Turtle. It just finished. What map was it? Patadia. You know it. You love it. It's another PVZ. Hold on, I actually have to check the rankings here. Would I put Art of Turtle above Neb? I think I would, yeah, holy shit. That's kind of wild. Has to defend his crown here. Tarnished though it may be. Tsunami makes your eyes hurt? It's not my map. Take it up with Juju. I haven't heard many people say any complaints about it, so it's kind of a... Unless a bunch of people start agreeing, I wouldn't personally make any changes, but it's up to Jujuk, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a matchup here for your entertainment, a Zerg versus Protoss. Neblime returns to active play, at least for now, trying to grind up his form, get ready for some exciting Cosmonarchy action. He'll be participating in Tribunal number 3. Sticking with Protoss, despite having quite a hard time getting back to the grand finals. Acropolis 2, he lost to Aeud 64. That was a 4-1 victory in favor of the Terran. And Acropolis 3 got domed by Shopkeeper Dog. I can't believe it. I think that was a 3-1 series, if I'm not mistaken. That was in the lower bracket. All the way, I think that might have been E2A or something like that. It wasn't a very late stage throne room stage game. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, oh, he got to the lower final or something. No. Yeah, it was a shocker. Art of Turtle, our Japanese Violet Zerg in the bottom right, has been on the grind, and I currently rank him and rate him as a superior Cosmonarch to Neblime. And that might sound harsh. You know, Neblime might be like, what the fuck? Well, except he would say that in an Australian accent, but... listen, dude, you haven't been playing, you haven't been gaming. I can't give it to you. Neblime, of course, our green Protoss on the top left, is gaming on Patadia, mapped by Biddy B. Longest rush distance map in Class 1, I believe. So there might be a chance that, like, a Station Phantasma has it. I think that map is comparable, but not quite. Obviously very different structurally. I'm just talking rush distance. We've got the workers kind of doing a dance here. It was a worker scout by AOT. That kind of has fallen out of favor. And look at this, Neblime being annoying. On a map like Patadia, you do not want to have to go all the way to the third base to put down your hatch. So AOT wisely is going to go ahead and put it down by the natural, but just as a macro hatch option here, which is totally fine. Obviously, you would prefer to be able to harvest from it early, but you don't need to. A bunch of Zethar cores coming out here, and the 2-gate is going to be Zealot Ecclesiast with a single Hierophant start in the 3rd gateway before anything else. Neblime playing a little bit more aggro in that way. But that being said, he's positioning his units very defensively. He kind of expects the Zethar cores to come out here in a big way. And if AOT just kind of cut all military production, started making a lot of Droleth, he'd catch up with workers very, very quickly here. And we would definitely see him be able to be in a better position. But his Zethar cores do need to go across the map to confirm what's happening. And then maybe we'll see something else go live. Look at this, the Scribe sticking around. Neblime being sneaky with it. Always is. His workers are annoying in a way that Mystery Meat back in the day, his workers could just kill you because he would just make an anchor somewhere and float it into your base if you didn't like scout his worker and kill it. So adaptations were pretty slim there. But Neblime is just he's kind of ratty with it. You know, his Scribe will come in and pop a bunch of mines. He's just going to pop in there and devastate you. So it can be really, really difficult, actually, to deal with what Neblime does. Kagrant by the choke, courtesy of the Hatcherosk, spreading the Kagra a little bit. And eventually we will see the transition into, again, very, very heavy economic play, as we can see here. Our AOT already catching up in workers. When we last took a look at that count, when Neblime had 16 workers, AOT had 8. And now when Neblime has 20 workers, AOT is already at 16, doubling the worker throughput so far because he hasn't really been feeling threatened yet. Little does he know, there is a pretty considerable gateway army being assembled in a grand library, all on one base, mind you. And, of course, AOT has some confirmation of that courtesy of his Zethar Corps scout. So the army movement will be seen now, and that's when we can start to see a little bit of a heavier defense come alive here for Art of Turtle. He probably needs, like, 2 more Kgrunts over here. Oh, look at this. Neblime's not... He's holding. He's not actually pulling the trigger on any attack, so this is going to give AOT even more time to build up. Look, 5 more Droleth. I mean, the man kind of has dialed in his greed. He's made a couple of quads in the meanwhile. Scribe aiming to get over there and put down an expansion. The Zethar Corps will come in and see it. Get a cheeky burrow off there, and that was obviously seen by Neblime, but all's well that ends well. He misplaces the Nexus! Neblime! Oh. Oh, dear. Okay. AOT wants to protect the run-by directly towards the hatch. I was a little bit more concerned with the run around. So that's why I was suggesting the 2 circuits off to this side. But it kind of flanks the Khazitra, helps it out a little bit. 1 pair of Nathacor is on the way for some more scouting intel. AOT does like his Nath. Look at that. He's actually got 1 pair out already. So it's a little bit more than just scouting. He's probably planning on Apex and going for the Calcure Lake and then grab a couple of Calculisks and see what you can do there. Worker Scout trying to spy any extra bases. Avaleth dispatched with 6 Zeths. Unlikely to get too much damage. No structures available to do a lot of work to or anything. But definitely something where you see the Warden... You see the Matrix not quite done yet. Maybe those could be juicy targets. Just the Scribes can be pulled and defend. Nebulum is kind of a master at that. I think the best you could probably hope for, actually, here is shutting down this pylon. Maybe attacking the embassy. Maybe you could get a kill on the embassy. Or force a cancel, I guess, more likely. Hatch finally being put down at the right time, right place for AOT. Maybe right time is a strong contention there, in contention. The Zethagor's kind of looking around here, seeing what they can find. And yeah, going after the embassy makes a lot of sense. Yeah, they should actually force a cancel over here. He's going to pull 2 to kill the Scribe. Just kind of dodge around there. And so that is going to slow down the angle. I can't believe this Scribe has been able to sneak in. I think he was over by the natural there. And so the Nathacors are going to get killed. Nebulum not putting his camera down there means he doesn't necessarily know that the air units are a threat. But he has some protection against them with the Matrix and the Warden. Glad to see him get to a stage of the game where he's building a big number of units. Not that I didn't think that would happen. Just, you know, there's a possibility. Zeth drop definitely paid for itself by canceling the embassy, and now a prostration stage has emerged in its place with a Calcure Lake on the way for Art of Turtle, and some proxy pylons blocking any potential third base locations from Art of Turtle as well. Nebulum trying to control the growth, or at least be apprised of the growth of his opponent. A couple heralds out. Happy to see their new model in action. Check them out. They're very epic. This game was hot off the presses, guys. It was just played today. Like, less than an hour, less than 30 minutes before I started casting it. That's how epic replay cracking it. So shout out Veek7. More than one time, but one time right now. That you managed to make that happen. It's pretty cool. Looks like anti-air Kagrants being put down. Inside the natural base location here. Zeth just kind of retreating, rotating. Herald's going to be dispatched, potentially to clear it out. No, not quite. Just kind of moves around. Looks cool in the process. I want to keep my eye on this particular thing, right? Shopkeeper Dog said it was hard for him to tell if it was a Herald or a Cantavis. Personally, they are so different that it's really hard for me to imagine that. But I am willing to entertain the possibility, right? I'm going to keep my eye on that. All right, Calculisks have started to come up. Feels like it's a little bit late for them to find too much value, but they could wrap around and start heckling the worker line over here. An embassy has finally been remade in this case, and Pariah on the way for our Protoss player, our champion of Acropolis #1. All the way back then, it was a 4-0 over the Shambler. It was Zerg back then for Nebulum. And that prompted his switch to Protoss, and ever since then, he's been halted. Kind of wild. All right. Lyralisks, Quasilisks. And a decent amount of bank for AOT as he continues to draw up. He's got way more workers than you would normally expect a Zerg to have at this stage, but he also doesn't have the third base, right? Which hasn't exactly been stopped or stymied. It's at best just been slowed down. Calculisks are going to clear that Hierophant, but that feels like it was a little bit of a reveal, an untimely reveal. Going to go ahead and clear this pylon with the Quas. Move-outs have been sighted here. I think between the Cantavis and the Pariahs, or I guess it's Pariah singular right now, but the 2 Cantavis that he's got, he should be able to hold, Nebulum, that is. Lyralisks are going to hunt down this Hierophant. There's really no way out. One of the few units that the Hierophant cannot actually escape from, by the way. This is going to prompt Nebulum to move across the map. By the way, Tier 2 started for Art of Turtle. And the last of these scout pylons are going to go ahead and detonate. The world is a dark and scary place. The Witness will try to illuminate it just a little bit. Base number 3 coming down at the 7 o'clock location for Art of Turtle. And he is ahead of his opponent on the expansion side. The Avaleth was trying to find a hiding spot. It was not successful. Right about now, Neblim's centralizing his defense over onto his third base location. Calculisks are trying to see what they can do, but the Matrix will hold them at an arm's length, and so it does feel like Neblim is pretty buttoned up right now, but he's not applying any pressure onto the Zerg player. A couple of the Calculisks will be caught. No, maybe just one, actually. One of the Calculisks will die. Three can still definitely threaten a mineral line, but we see that Art of Turtle has other ideas. Mutat Spire on the way. Not yet immediately apparent if this is for Mutalisks, which is more counterattack oriented, of course, or Protathalors, which is a little bit more like I'm going to build a threatening long-range army and try to snipe your individually powerful units like the Cantavis, the Pariah. Let my Lyrilisks do their work. Typically, if you go Protathalor, you need more support. If you go Muta, you need support in a different way. You need a stronger standing army so that you don't just get steamrolled. You need to be able to kind of keep your opponent's army at an arm's length while you use the Mutas for counterattacking. In the same way that, it's a delayed dynamic relative to StarCraft 1, but in the same way that in, ZVT, the Mutas are used to keep the Terran in their base, and if you can hit the right timings and abuse the right things, then you can be in a really, really strong situation. The Lyrilisks giving him a runaround. Very, very nice as Protathalors start to come out. So we are going to see more investment in a ground-based army. Very soon here. Drolat's waiting to be transferred over to the 7 o'clock, and Calculisks being heckled by some Dracodons. One of them will die, and Art of Turtle's going to need to cycle those around. Here comes the committal, the army, before the Lyrilisks are ready to hatch here at the base. So this army shouldn't actually be able to clear the base for free, particularly as Zeth and Vor have come out. A storm, but it's easily accepted by Art of Turtle. Big surround there as the Cantavises are trying their best to double storm the Zeths. It's going to work out pretty well. The Protathalor is not focusing them down, and not very many Protathalors exist anyway. But the Armor End seems to have done its job, and it doesn't look like many of these units will escape. One Pariah even going down. All the Cantavis dead. Some of the units had been earmarked for that eastern flank of the map to finally deal with those Calculisks, but I think there were two more where that came from, or maybe those were the two that just died. More Protathalors on the way. Art of Turtle has a humongous bank, needs to spend down some of those minerals. Can he even do it, though? His larva production has not really scaled. He's got, what, 5 inside this main bastion, and a 6th one out here for his third base. He should have more bases, and he should absolutely have more production of larva. Right now, he's making 8 military units, and, I mean, the Protoss can kind of rival that, certainly in terms of army quality, but pretty much in quantity as well. I mean, there's about that many production structures on the field for the Protoss player, so that feels to me like AOT playing a little bit risky here, playing maybe a little bit lazily. 3 Hatrosks going down. He understands the same sort of dynamic I'm seeing here is what he's seeing. 11 Protathalors now on the way. No detection to rid himself of that troublesome witness. The Dracodon continuing to patrol across the 3 o'clock position. A Pariah dispatched to the bottom left as another base is taken for Neblim. Around the same time as AOT. Wow, he's actually put down 6 hatches, so he really gets it. He's telling me loud and clear, okay, Pronogo, I'm just on a delay. That's all. This army feels a lot less threatening than the flanking army, the multi-pronged attack that AOT had set up before. In fact, he's overly responding to the one Pariah in there, and so he's missing an opportunity to kill a couple Pariahs over here as he tries to rally over, even though this Protathalor is on location, to try to deal with this position. So now he's going to try to engage onto the army coming in to heckle his 4th base, but the one Pariah with 16 kills and counting going to eat up a lot of those Drolets and give Neblim the worker lead yet again. This ball of Pariahs just waiting on that Cantavis to get a couple of casts in. And, well, what do you know? The army is split here. AOT really needs to cycle his Protathalors onto the same targets. They're spreading their damage so much. Looks like the Lyrilisks will kill the Cantavis without too much of an issue, but I say that. The Storm still ends up doing some damage. Getting up there. Over 500 damage already, and the Protathalors cannot hold. Drolat's also being waypointed across. That's a lot of dead workers. A lot of chaos sowed. AOT overreacting with his entire army to deal with one Pariah, even though there were Protathalors on standby at the point. Bottom left's going to be eaten up by those melee units, and it looks like the 4th base will be canceled here as well. So, overwhelming victory, it feels like, for Neblim. Evigrilisks are on the way. Those were buffed in terms of durability. That'll give him a bit of a front line, but he's lost so much of his damage. Lyrilisks in the bin. Protathalor count very low comparatively. Feels like that's way, way, way too much. for AOT to deal with. Now, he is making some Gosvaleths. These advanced workers can skip a base mutation if they're going to make a structure, so they can go straight to the Circuith, as you can see here, or indeed the Spraith. That's pretty neat. Little mechanic there, in the same way that you can skip the base morph if you have a Kaffirlosk or an Oxylcesian, which we do not see here. The Vigorlisks are out. Slow walking. Base number 5 coming up online for the Protoss, and we still have no 4th base in sight for the Zerg. Tosvril Haunt on the way. Heart of Turtle wants to upgrade his Spire, and from there he will be spending a little bit of time and resources, presumably on Sovrolets, but it could be, again, we could see a Muta switch at some point. He just doesn't really have the minerals for that right now. Very mineral-intensive unit. Muta was buffed somewhat recently. It lost a little bit of HP, but it got 1 armor, or no, it gained 1 armor. It already had 1 armor. And it also is cheaper. So, pretty good there. Big static defense farm to deal with any individual pariahs that come on down to that 3rd base. 4th being set up behind this attack, but he's allowing the pariahs to connect onto his Protathalors, and he doesn't have any Zoryus to speed him up or rend the armor or do a thing about this situation. And it feels like his army is just way too small for what it ought to be. I mean, what does he even have behind this? He's just got Quaz, and he's upgrading his circuits, but Nebulum is allowing his army to just follow this whole thing all the way back. The Khaz'trith might end up helping out a little bit, but at what cost? The Lyrilisks are going to be destroyed in the eggs before they can morph, and the Pariahs, well, some of them do end up going down, but the Khaz'trith, it doesn't have that much support here, and it will eventually be busted. So I feel like Nebulum is going to chain this in to a very, very monumental finish, and just like that, I mean, we weren't predicting the game to end there. I thought we were settling in for a macro game, but Art of Turtle losing both base number 4 and base number 5 at the sort of bottom right-ish area and the bottom left corner. At the same time as Nebulum ends up securing a 5th, never had to worry about any counterattacks or anything like that. Art of Turtle kicking himself there, I feel like, and I'm sure he appreciates the capital U in his name. That was totally not a typo. GG's. We'll be back for more Cosmonarchy later. And by that, I mean that probably will be a video. That was pretty cool. That was a good. Holy shit, boys. Dude, there's 12 people in voice right now, by the way. Isn't that epic? These are some of these games are really cool. I dig it. Cheese. There you go. Just for you. Okay. So maybe Nebulum isn't washed after all. Maybe he's still pretty good. But I do want to do a classic match. I do want to do a classic one. Okay, guys? Are you with me for at least one more game? We've got the Shambler taking on Nebulum on Dyadic Shore. This should be a barn burner. This should be a classic matchup between these two. We've got Shambler in the top left as the Emerald Terran and Nebulum in the bottom left as the Vivid Orange Protons. Didact My Shore. Neblime does like the recall from the Xenolith, but I haven't seen him make a Didact in a while. Arbuz maintains that Didacts are just absolutely unacceptable units, but I'm sure he would rather have those than Reclaimers. Fulcrum starting up for Shambler, doesn't want to try Bio versus Neblime's Protoss. Add some color to this game, judging by the fact that these are all on the ranked side of things. I think this is the first time Neblime and Shambler have been dueling. I think. I'm not entirely sure about that. But I'm looking forward to seeing if I am correct. Let's find out together, boys. Gateway, Lattice on the way for Sir Neblime. He wants to go for the Gateway, and then I guess the Lattice is going to be for a single Vassal to make it so that Vultures alone cannot stop him. Mason trying to do some battle. Enter into some fisticuffs. I don't know. Second Fulcrum really quickly, but there's no military unit even queued up here. So Shambler, what are you doing? What are you doing, dude? A Cyclops as the first military unit. Okay, that's interesting. Listen, I do believe in Cyclops versus Protoss. Smarty Cakes almost beat Neblime with only Cyclops. It almost happened. So, pretty good. Pretty good idea. The one Vassal is on the way, but the Cyclops will probably make short work of it, I guess, maybe. Vulture will come out here pretty soon and see what it can do. The one Vassal is going to force a Watchdog, I would guess. But if Shambler can kill it without doing too much friendly splash damage, then we're all right. He actually hasn't taken any damage onto his Masons just yet. Neblime knows what to do here, though. Shambler kind of does, too, though. You saw how he got really close so that the Vassal would have to commit or just die. One more Cyclops shot would have actually killed it, I believe. Yeah, should have been. So that's a pretty smart way of going about it. You take some HP damage on your Masons, but it's unlikely to matter too much. And here comes the Ministry to float down over to the Natural soon. Behind this, of course, we've got Hierophant Manifold for that armor pen. A Zealot comes out, and it's going to be a Grand Library. Already going for a Golem. I don't know if I like that. I feel like the Golem is probably all right versus the Cyclops in theory, but Golems typically get a power spike later in the game when you have the capacity, the production capacity, to make a ton of them at once. So we'll see together. We'll all find out as a unit, as one great big happy family, if this Golem is going to be of value to the Protoss arsenal. Some Vultures coming out, probably mostly for the mine count, if I had to guess. One thing that I like stylistically about what Neblime does is he always ends up moving his workers around in funny ways. I talked about this in another game, but he can be very annoying with his workers. But more than that, for his own benefit, and not necessarily just because like it's annoying to your opponent or something. One of the things that you'll see see happen for Neblime is he'll have a little bit of a worse eco because his worker isn't back at home mining. But it's, you know, in this case, it's clearing mines. It's providing a lot of valuable intel that seems to have fallen out of favor in terms of, you know, really top-end players scouting out. They would rather have that extra money to optimize for a tighter build. And to each their own. I just think it's interesting when there's a difference in all of that. The Nexus is nearly complete here for the Natural. The Ministry has landed, and we will end up seeing some Mason production out of it sometime soon. And Anseal already soars above the battlefield with another one on the way, and that is going to be crucial in protecting a lot of these Cyclops from whatever is in the direction. Look at this Neblime double expanding after seeing the Ministry land. He's got a plan. He thinks he can hold this off with the Storm and the Hallucination of the Cantavis, making a second one for good measure. I don't necessarily disagree with him, by the way. It really comes down to that. Look at this. Immediately right-clicked by the Shambler, and it goes down very quickly. Now he's got to worry about that front line because, of course, the Cyclops will have to deal some friendly splash damage if they're going to stand in one spot against that. If Shambler knew that that extra base was going down, he would play this very differently. I can guarantee you that much. Down goes the Golem very quickly. The Zealots won't be far behind, although Shambler is just face tanking his own projectiles. A Zoning Storm. Trying to focus down the Cantavis, but it's got a decent amount of health. It does end up falling, but the rest of this army will go down with it. Shambler will not be able to continue this push, it feels like. Although he has cleared a couple of those lattice units. The Xanseals are drained of energy, and one of them is very, very low on health. And so it won't be long now. A third one coming on in, but let's be real, that's not going to matter too much. Vultures find the pylon over here, and eventually we'll find the Nexus. And Shambler will curse his fate, realizing he probably could have just forced the issue over here instead. He did end up losing an Anseal in that, so a little bit more expensive than he wanted it to be even. Greedy MF, the Fulcrum number 3 on the way. I think it was calculated. Whether it was calculated correctly, that remains to be seen, but I do believe that Neblime... is a thinking man's player. I also... I was doing the same thing as Arbiz there. I was mentally typing LMAO. That was what I was doing. So I'm glad Arbiz is there to represent me. I feel seen and heard and understood on a primal level. Oh. I hope Julia joins us in Cosmonarchy someday. I know like Hit 'em Up doesn't, but listen, dude. I got to take my top level StarCraft players that will turn into Cosmonarchs when I can, you know? I can't, beggars can't be choosers. You know what I'm saying now. Right about now, though, all off of the one gate in the one grand library and, of course, the one lattice. At some point, Neblime is going to need to take this economic advantage that he's gotten, turned it into a military one. Shambler obviously has the tempo advantage on that, with a lot of vultures to his name, and he is going to go ahead and put down a third ministry. The scrapyard, I don't know about putting it there, but keeping a lot of room free in his main base. And he'll just continue producing some blackjacks now. Should trade pretty efficiently, except for the fact that Psystorm is pretty good at flipping the entire poker table. And here we go. Unitary Union. Straight to Tier 3 for Neblime. I love Cosmonarchy. 4 Matadors apiece being made now. Shambler wants to set himself up there. See what else he can pull together. Some storms put together. Hey, Obs cannot help. This is a ranked game. Silence. Storms are really good versus Anseals, by the way, so... pretty good versus Blackjacks, very good versus Anseals. It makes it really hard to approach that Protoss army, as long as the storms are cast nicely. Holy shit. I have just got confirmation that Sir Neblime has signed up for Weekend Wage. I can't believe he's going to be there. It's like... I think it's like 6 a.m. on a... No. 11 a.m.? I can't remember. It's some ridiculous time on Monday, so I guess he doesn't have to work that day. Perfect. Wonderful. Storm's getting into position. Cantavis end up putting him down there. There's only actually one casting right now, I think, unless they're perfectly in sync, but I don't think so. So the Cantavis get dove on by the Vultures and the Matadors, and flanking around over here as well. Looks like Shambler really trying to pull the trigger on this. Always, oh, the hallucination effects would have been so nice onto those poor Anseals, but they don't end up getting the job done quite. He's trying to whittle them through. Not so many actual fighting units here for Shambler. Most of his army is Anseal. Still, he's trading all right compared to what we thought he would, but look at this. Neblime's actually ignoring the damage dealt to his Atreus, and he's just going after the Anseals. One more orb walk might have killed that one as well, but not to be. Not this time. Oh, no! No, Neblime! You've lost everything. Well, he's got a lot of remaining units hanging out. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. Hey, Nicholas also just signed up for Weekend Wage. Pingo Collator. Check it out. We're going to have some more Terran greatness on display then. Very cool. Very epic. Love what I'm seeing so far. Appreciate the community support and community engagement there. Very cool. A lot of Matadors and a lot of Blackjacks. The Shambler playing the Scrapyard style. And his tier 2 is nearly complete. It's a very what would you say? Gas inexpensive build, you know? Gas light build here. So he can afford to go for his tier 2 relatively quickly off the back of this. Matador is going to try their best. The Assylians going to need to bounce for quite a while to break through all that armor. At the very least, the Assylian projectiles will kind of weave back and forth. So sometimes the Matador will take 1 damage off of the shot. Look at that. Really diving in. Trying to go after these Assylians. They're just a little bit too slippery. Here we go. Plenty more on the way of the Matador. But 1 Assylian goes down. There's 2 more to take its place. And I think the push has reached its end. Base number 4 is set up for Neblim in the meanwhile. He did end up trying to expand to the sort of 6 o'clock area, but that Cyclops will be brought to its end. Captaincy is now on the way. Shambler pivoting into tier 2 bio, a very powerful force. Still making Blackjacks for now as sort of like a in-between, a go-between. Transition into that bio play. Matador's diving forward. And one of them will be cleared up immediately. But it does look like Shambler will stabilize a little bit. He's just always going to be a base behind his opponent, and that can be a problem. Neblim isn't scaling his tech just yet, but he's adding more and more unitary unions, a crucible, and now he's got a lot of lattices. Right now he's made a round of manifolds, but we know what's coming after that. Guildhall add-on. We've got captaincies coming. The storm that you must now advance through. Big flank coming in here for Neblim. Rotated his whole army out here, except for what's coming in from the rotations from those reinforcements. He's forced to split onto Shambler's army. Is this the guillotine? The knockout punch before the Apostles can get up to any certain amount. Yeah, sure, these Blackjacks and such have cleared that Assylian and everything else that was coming in from the south, but the big ball on the north is not being cleared, and the Ministry will go down without a cancel. Shambler's got enough minerals to replenish it. Has the DPS been wasted upon a structure that ultimately wasn't that impactful anyway? Looks like the Assylians will double back. We've got another round of units now going to be earmarked towards what Neblim assumes is a base taken by Shambler. He's going to get there and find out that there's just a couple of mines. Coming back in for a poke. Some mine hits will be perhaps enlightening, enticing Shambler to push forward. Apostles ringing the bell, even skilling an Assyliant in the process. Comes in for a flank, but Neblim doesn't really have good army here, it doesn't feel like. Not to properly take this engagement. He'll stun, at the very least. Is that going to be enough? We heard a couple of Olympian shots ring out there towards the end, so the super soldiers are coming. I can't believe an Apostle chased him all the way over here. That's wild. The faraway base is being taken by Neblim. 3 o'clock. I never see that base taken, except for... I guess there was one game where I saw like a Terran player build a bunch of diadems there. I think it was Top Ramen versus Steven, when Steven was still playing Protoss. But shout out Steven one time, dude. Some stolen manifolds to provide some armor pen. Finally! Finally! The Protoss are serving the right masters. Autocrats, Olympians, you name it, we got it. Still so much room in the main base, but we're not getting anything transferred over there. We've got 3 bases of the Shambler, and he is trying to trade against a Protoss that is so big right now. It's going up to his 7th base at 3 o'clock. This one in the bottom right is well saturated. Very, very nice map control here for Neblim. And it looks to me like he's getting ready to maybe throw down the gauntlet Resilience. Finding plenty of value. Getting the bounces. There's just too much Protoss here, man. You can build the Reclaimers if you like, but you got an Epigraph here. You got all manner of thing, and there's just way too much to grind through. In fact, if anything's being ground through, it's definitely Shambler's carcass. There you go. All those times when you were a kid and you thought Army Core was Army Corpse, now it really is. Sure, the Autocrats are going to get a couple of Reclamation procs off, but Shambler was busy typing. You can tell he's already conceded. I'm glad that even in the ranked games, Shambler plays like this. By the way, 3 Unars are on the way, and they have a really sick new model. And that's the only time we'll see them, but... Hey, Shambler typed GG! Holy shit! I can't believe Shambler typed GG. That's shocking. What do I do with this information? How do I live? Kinda wild. It's a Thanksgiving miracle. Hell yeah. Alright, so we processed already on the signups here. Arda Turtle, Nebelheim, and Nicholas. Very cool. Very, very cool. Character development. Hell yeah, boys. Just typing out the names of participants for Tribunal number 4. I'll show you guys that bracket, what that looks like in a little while. That's what I thought. I can't believe we only have one Protoss in the whole... Oh, I think Dogliv said he might switch back to Protoss, so maybe there is one. Maybe there is hope. All right, we've got 10 signups so far to the Tribunal stage. That's pretty sick. Big fan. Hey, for anybody who was watching, there any complaints about the stream? Do we got good quality stream here so far? About normal? Cool. All right. Okay, it's already just about 5 o'clock. Okay. I think that will probably wrap the stream then. We went for a little over 2 hours. I got to prep for some D&D stuff, and after that I will be probably just going to bed because, you know, D&D starts late, ends late. So I'm going to get some food. I'm going to let my dog out and all that, and get ready for some D&D prep, and then get ready for some actual D&D. I'll see you guys later on. We are clearly good enough for the stream to run Weekend Wage tomorrow, since I've had Discord open this whole time as well. So that was like the main thing I was worried about, and I was loading web pages and processing stuff. Before I go, I will show you guys the brackets here as they're shaping up. and we will see what we get there. Let me just make sure. Yeah, okay, I've got everything here confirmed. All right, so let's quickly take a look here. Hello, hello. Now I am smaller. Don't worry about the tasks in the bottom left there. No worries. We have here the Tribunal number 3 for that's coming up in just a little bit. And we're going to start that off on the 29th of November, I think is when that's when the signups lock. Might change the exact start time there. We'll see. Yep, we are going to be starting towards the tail end of November and going into December. And we have 10 people confirmed so far. Leading the charge with favorites to get out would be Shopkeeper Dog and Newt, our Class 1 representatives so far. Art of Turtle, Neblime, The Shambler, Dog Lived, Han Mono, and I Am the Weed of God are all our Class 2 representatives. And then we have Cannoli and Smarty Cakes as the Class 3 upper class that are going to be contending. So, Sausage says he'll join sometime as well. Okay, so we are going to have one more Class 3 upper class representative here at some point. I think I'd probably put Sausage... Well, I guess I'd probably put Sausage below Kasuga, above Cannoli, probably. And Kasuga may or may not sign up. But yeah, it's cool stuff. I pulled more games, by the way, from just today that I was really interested in casting. We got Art of Turtle versus Shambler here. We got, well, I guess some of these are short games, but I wouldn't mind casting those for TikTok as well. So I'm also really excited to cast Odorless versus Vilius and stuff like that. I want to see some of those games too, you know what I mean? So we'll see. We'll see. There's a Crisis Vector Odorless game here. I want to see some of those games from like the newer players. So we'll see about that for sure. And here is the weekend wage bracket as it currently stands. Obviously, some of these, I've preloaded 12 slots because that's how many we had last time, I think. Yeah. So that I'm just sort of preloading it based off of that as a template. But this is what we have for our initial round of play. We have Newt signed up, our sole Class 1 member so far. AOT, Neblime, Godwheat, all Class 2 players have signed up as well. And then lastly, we have these 4 homies towards the bottom. Nicholas Mixu, a StarCraft 2 pro player, who obviously participated in the Indie Mixu show match that Euthermal was meant to participate in at one point. And then we have Kutyam Supin and Zevi returning as well. Still the bottom seeds, but that's only for now. Maybe newbier people will join. You never know. All right, so I just wanted to keep you guys posted on what the tournament stuff was looking like. We'll fill this out with a couple more people that said they might sign up there at the last minute. I think it was Smarty, Microgreen, Dog Lived, and one other. If we get all 4 of those guys, then we're good to go because that's the 12 people. But hopefully we get even more than that. Hopefully we get even more than that. GG's, boys. We'll be back later. Thanks for hanging out. Peace.